Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Slater Success Live. Today we are going live on LinkedIn and Facebook. So, hello out there. Feel free to comment, ask questions. I have a special guest today. So, for those of you who went to join us last week and hear Cecilia Razak speak, and the two of us chat together, hey, there's a lot of sickness going around out there, and it's not all COVID, just so you know. Cecilia lost her voice. And so she's like, as soon as I get it back, we're going live. Hence, I'm thrilled to introduce you to her today. One of the things that I adore about Cecilia is she has right under her name, I like building tech companies that help humans. So for those of you who know me, I'm a learner of tech, right? I never say I'm proficient at it. I kind of don't even think I could do it well some days, but I'm always in it. I'm always working it. I'm always looking to learn. And why is it's not about the technology, because it's the technology that helps humans. And Cecilia has founded various organizations. She has co founded a brand called Slides with Friends. And I am not going to do you the disservice of sharing more about it. I'm going to let Cecilia really introduce herself and her brand. Thanks for joining me here today. And I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Thank you so much, Ivy, and apologies for that blip, and apologies today. I still have a little cough, so if we get off on a coughing tangent, we'll move right through
it. Then I just talk about tech.
Exactly.
So you have a saying. Let's start at the beginning here. You have this saying about being passionate about building tech companies that help humans. How did you come to technology? How did you come to that technology as your thing?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a direct route. It was, in fact, quite circuitous. I am an English literature major by study, and
wow.
So it's been a pathway, and I ended up, as many English people, English majors do, in branding, marketing, and at that space, I kind of worked my way into digital branding and digital design, which kind of morphed in, my career began as the web was starting to get bigger. I was working in interactive design companies, and I really found a love for design. I found a love for working online and with technology. And as that love kind of grew, I realized I could do it on my own. I didn't need to work in an agency. So what ended up happening was I left my agency job and I founded a company with a technical co-founder. So I am mildly technical and he is full stack. And we ended up building quite a large company together. And we are now on our second company together, which is a lot of fun, honestly.
So when you two started with Slides with Friends, what drove the innovation of it? Like, why this? Why now?
Yeah, it grew out of a real need. So we began during the pandemic. It was early 2020.
I mean, there was a pandemic?
Yeah. We were running a different company at the time. That company was on track for doing $1 million annual revenue that year, and then the pandemic hit, and we took a real hit. We instead of doing $1 million, we did like half of that. So we found ourselves
not bad, but it didn't reach goal.
Not what we wanted. So we ended up having a lot of time on our hands, oddly, because everything shut down, and we ended up having a lot of bandwidth from our employees who we wanted to keep working. We wanted to keep working with. So we ended up creating some things that we knew that we needed for that business, and one of them was an interactive presentation software that we could use to do a lot of onboarding, because we were still doing a lot of hiring, and to do a lot of remote team meetings, because we were in multiple cities at the time, and not everyone even was in our home base, which was in Philadelphia. So we ended up having to do a lot of remote meetings that we were not planning for originally. So how do we run those meetings? How do we make sure that everybody on the team feels like an equal member of the team, rather than feeling like siphoned off in their own little city? So we built this tool that was basically interactive training, interactive presentation, and meeting.
Because you guys do tech.
We needed
so
it.
You see a problem and you create a solution.
Exactly. It also did some fun double duty, because we were all in quarantine, of having it be kind of a fun trivia game night for all of our friends. And at first I thought, oh, this will last a couple of weeks because I thought, quarantine will last a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we
I
all
wasn't
went in for like 30 to 60 days, 90 tops.
tops. Yeah, all the projections.
We'll be back in that office in 90 days.
So I was like, well, we better just get this over with real quick. And what we ended up doing was every week for 2 years, we were doing this trivia night, and this thing kind of grew up along with it. And we found what was great about it and what needed work through our work groups and our team groups and our friend group. So it's a lot.
You basically did your market research without even realizing it in a strange way through various various avenues.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So it's not places, but they're communities, I guess might be the better word.
Yeah, it's all about your group. So what kind of community are you trying to build? Are you trying to build like an efficient team that works well together? Are you trying to have fun with your friends? Are you trying to onboard employees? There's a lot of different, or teach students. We've done that as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use this. And let me kind of back up and tell you what it is.
I was going to say, I was like, you and I are talking because I've done the demo with you as if like everybody knows it, but let's slow down here and like really explain what Slides with Friends is and how it works.
Yeah. So Slides with Friends is an interactive presentation platform. So I would say think of it like PowerPoint or Google Slides, where you're building a slide deck, but instead of just creating a slide deck that is kind of static, where your audience just kind of looks at what you put on the slide, they can also join in and play along with your content. So everything from answering a multiple choice question to creating a word cloud where you make some words bigger than others, to sharing photos with each other, to sending emoji responses and sounds, to doing a live poll. You can do all of those things with these different slide types, and you basically just build a deck of interactions. It's like a little game builder that you can do anything in the world with, because it's also just a slide deck presentation the same way that you're used to.
Right, but is it a slide deck presentation? So I know if I'm building a slide deck for a presentation, right, I own the building of the slide deck. But with Slides with Friends, like I could build this slide, but then you can join in and add to the slide. Am I getting that?
Exactly. So, you could create a slide that's like, hey, what's your favorite thing about what we've done this quarter? And then people can send in their responses. So basically they're creating content with you, and all of the content onus isn't on you. You've created a conversation. And our mission with this was really to help connect people, because as I said, we needed it for our team. We needed it for our friends who were all far apart. We wanted to make it possible to connect with this group in a one-to-many sort of structure that made everybody have a voice and gave everyone a chance to participate, even if there were 10 people on a Zoom call, which, as I'm sure you're familiar with, just being on a Zoom call with 10 people is murder. So some structure there and some connective pro-social ability created there with this interactive tool.
Well, the thing about being on a group call with a bunch of people, whether it be a team call, whether it be a friends call, or family reunions have been like, I have a client who they have a weekly or monthly, I'm not sure which it is, family Zoom now, which with, relatives from all across the country or globe. That wasn't happening there. It was like that once every 5-year reunion has become now a regular opportunity.
Right, because you don't have to buy the flights.
So when you do that, so does somebody have to be like in charge or the facilitator? Like I know if I'm running a thing, it very often is a training or a speaking thing. And, it's like that. I am that person in charge. If you're looking for a group of friends, does it help if somebody takes the lead?
Yeah, so it's a lot like a PowerPoint that you would present. So you would host your own PowerPoint game or event or whatever deck that you build or pick. We have lots of pre-made games that you can play. You can create your own kind of custom, hey, this is my training deck, or like, here's how we onboard. And you basically run it like you are the host or the showmaster of the PowerPoint presentation. But everybody else who's watching your content can participate and play along.
That is so cool. And I love the examples you're giving, because so often when you're onboarding new team, and especially now with so much being hybrid or virtual, right? And companies that have numerous offices across the country or the globe, we're able to consolidate their onboarding, right? You don't have to be in the same city. They don't need an onboarding department in every office now. We could be smarter. It's so often you throw a bunch of videos to onboard somebody, and although it's a video, it feels stagnant because you're doing it on your own.
And your eyes glaze over because it's just someone talking at you. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is something we ran into with our team as we were onboarding. We did a lot of onboarding of new kind of lower level hires. And we needed them to know the important things that the job involves. And if they didn't know them, it was a problem. So we needed the information to be engaging, and we needed it to be retainable for them. So we didn't want to just run them through like a PowerPoint the way that we would do if we had them all in the office at the same time. We wanted them to feel like they were participating with it, so they weren't falling asleep in front of their Zoom. So we did a lot of trying to figure out what creates engagement, whether you're remote or whether you're in the same room. When someone is trying to impart information to you or to connect with you, what is it that keeps people engaged? And the biggest thing that you can do is have them participate, have them contribute. People love to talk about themselves. I know I do. It's a thing that is just natural for us as humans. And if we feel like we're contributing to the conversation, that's just automatically more engagement from us.
And, so you used your own tool to onboard as you started scaling Slide with Friends. And what were some of the things, that you learned or learned from your own team from being onboarded with an interactive? Because I love, it's true. We watch videos, and we watch, it might be a 3-minute video or a 10-minute video. And, by minute 1, even if it's something that's funny, I find myself tuning out.
Yeah, because I think we live in a world that is super saturated with content now. It used to be that your job was to curate the content, like bring the content toward you. And now it's more and more becoming your job to move the content away from you. So we have this job as thinking humans of curating and controlling the content that comes into our purview. So with videos and with everything that's coming at us, it can be very easy to tune out because it's overwhelming. There's too much there. So having something that is both interactive and simple was our key. Making sure that it could, and we're very mindful the way that we've designed these slides to have them be both simple, like easy to understand as a player, and also pro-social, so that everything that you're doing is kind of connected in a simple and non-inundating sort of way. So we learned a lot about how people interact in a group, especially when they're new, especially when they're trying to be on their best behavior because we're hiring them, and all that fun stuff. And a lot of this grew out of that because we wanted to make sure that we were creating connection, we were creating simplicity and ease of engagement.
So viewers and listeners, as you scroll through LinkedIn, or if those of you might be on Facebook, feel free to post a comment, ask a question, and know even if you missed this live and you're watching it on the recording, that Celia and I are going to continue to pop in and see, and answer questions. So don't feel that you have missed out on opportunity. I have so many questions. Because I'm truly fascinated. I'm fascinated by it. First of all, kudos to you and your co-founder, because there's a lot of people who see there's a whole, there's a need in the marketplace, and they talk about it, and they talk about it, and they talk about it, and they're like, oh, well. And then there's those exceptions that say, oh, this is what's going on now. We see a solution. Let's run. Let's jump on it.
Yeah.
Was there any fear involved in taking that action? Was there any fear involved when you saw that, you're the company that you were running, that the pandemic had an impact on it? Because let's be real, we are human beings. We're not superhumans.
Of course. Yes, every day, and I think that to pretend that starting a company is doesn't have the, some fear behind it in almost every case, unless, you're a much stronger person than I am.
Unless you're that superhuman.
Right. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of myths about entrepreneurship and founders in general that are not helpful. And one of them is that, there's no fear and you can just run right at it and it'll be great. And another one is that you can do it on your own. I really think that the more support you have, whether it is co-founder, whether it is investment or funding, whether it is mentorship or information help, or just family and friends who understand, a lot goes into building something successful. And not everybody has access to that sort of information and that sort of help. So I'm a big fan of, all of the programs now that are coming out that are more geared towards, say, women in technology, that are helping with funding. I remember trying to get funding for my first tech company in 2014. No. And now it's much easier, and people are much more receptive. So it's been an interesting road, and I think there have been a lot of changes. But to answer your question, yes, of course, there's fear every time, and I think the big thing that you can do about that is to acknowledge the fear and just work with it, work through it.
Yeah, I was thinking about taking that breath and move through it. And I love what you've said. Is why do we feel we have to do things on our own?
Mm-hmm.
If you're fortunate to have a co-founder or a partner, that's great. And if you don't, build your surrounding network of advisors, of support systems. I always have, even before I started Slater Success, I was like, I always had like this group of people who, if I needed resources, I had, this one or that one or this one, I was like, I don't know how to navigate this. Client asked me if I could do this, and I want to say yes, I'd have to figure it out. So who could I call? And I had, I could ask this one and this one. And that's great. I'll start with those three, and they just get
It's wonderful to have that network, and like just creating that network is a full-time job on its own. And I started out in agency world, so I ended up having a lot of connections of really wonderful people who were very helpful to me in understanding what I needed to do to make a company go. And my co-founder was a serial founder at that point, so he knew a lot more than I did. So just having that kind of support really made it possible for me to do anything, honestly. So I'm a big fan of the whole, there's no such thing as a bootstrap pull. You need help. It's okay to need help. Get the help if you can. If you don't have access to it, there are some great resources. Like, for instance, you can go and find co-founders on co-founder meetup. And like, there's just a ton of places now where you can get connected with people. There are services now that do like, hey, if you're a CEO and you have an idea, we will pair you with a technical co-founder. All kinds of great things like that. So the world is getting bigger, I think, with that.
It's amazing because none of those things were available. Or now I'm going to rephrase that. So much was not around for a long time. And now there's a plethora of things that's available to all of us. But we have to be willing to take the action to go find them, connect with it, and follow up with it.
Yes. Yeah. And, it's for me, the issue has never been like finding the idea or finding out what to do. It's always been having the bandwidth to do it. So I'm always the person who has like 30 projects running at a time, as you could tell, because I started a new company in the middle of running a different company. But it becomes something where you realize that whatever you shine your light on is what grows. So where you direct your light is what you're going to create. And I find that the more you focus on the one thing, the bigger and stronger that's going to grow, as opposed to diffusing.
And I agree with you. It's what you shine your light on will grow.
Yeah.
And you can have here's the, it's the bit of the ivy metaphor, truly, because I love to garden this time of year. But we can have a variety of plants in our garden.
Yeah.
Right? We can have a variety of plants in our garden. And if we have the support to shine the light, right, People say, can you grow more than one company at a time? It depends. Can you start 2 companies at the same time? That's a lot. Can you get one started, grow it, build a good team, then start shining the light on the next, continue to keep a light here, right? You can navigate that, but you have to have a strategy and system in place around it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because otherwise you're just going to get overwhelmed. There's always more things to do than you can do. For me, I've found that, finding the low hanging fruit, that's a job by itself, just finding it, and then picking it. You want to maximize your output so that you can pick the most amount of low hanging fruit that you can, while not letting the rest of the fruit fall. So there's just this is a very detailed metaphor we've created here. But there's a lot to do, and there will always be fruit to pick. So for me, one of the big things was learning, not to feel as though I needed to pick every single piece. Some pieces maybe I'll just let sit there because this one is much bigger and riper than maybe that one. I don't need to do all of them. So, and that also ties in with the fear of, how am I going to get everything done? How am I going to make sure that everything happens? So it's a lot of, just being okay if something falls.
So in that light, how and this is in so many of the business leaders I speak to, sometimes the biggest challenge is letting go and delegating.
Absolutely.
And so how you navigated, you reference you are onboarding, you're building team, and when you're picking the right fruit and you're looking and saying, where's our next opportunity? How are we stepping into it? You have to delegate. How do you get caught up in that at all? Or are you good with it? And everybody has different skill sets, so it's an honest question.
Yeah, I'm a micromanager in some ways where I'm like, I know how it should be done. I can teach you how to do it. That'll take me 6 hours, or I can just do it. That'll take me 2 hours. I'm just going to do it. But in the long run, you have to teach people, you have to give projects up, you have to delegate it. And so the only way I found to do with that is leaning on a different skill that I have, which is I'm fairly good at hiring and finding good people. So the more you can trust your
team. You're going to have a lot of people leaning in. It's like, oh, you're good at hiring. Oh, you're good at finding good people.
Yeah.
Hold on. Did you hear that on LinkedIn?
Yeah. The more you can trust your team, and the more you can rely that they are going to do, if not the job that you would do, at least a job that's going to get the work done. You gotta be okay with 80% sometimes, and I struggle with that for sure. But as long as you can trust them to get it to the 80%, if you need to come back and get it to that 95, you can always do that later. But getting it done, getting somebody else on it so that I have time to focus on the stuff that is more important, or the stuff that they can't do. Right. That is really, so it's a lot of paying attention to the end goal, and making sure that your actions are in line with you achieving that end goal as effectively and efficiently as possible. So if you, like, I sometimes will find myself spinning my wheels. I'm like, why am I designing this landing page? Like, I have professional designers to do this. Why am I doing it? Stopping myself and being like, this is the ROI on this is not as high as the ROI on me doing something else. So let me hand this off. So it's a lot of like checking in and making sure that I am in alignment with the end goal.
So, and it is so true. And I love that you're bringing this to light. It's so easy to get caught in the details, get caught in the weeds, and get caught in the perfectionist feelings. If we truly keep that end goal as our shining light, the star we're moving towards, you have to let things come off your plate so you can keep moving forward, and they will catch up to you. But Exactly. If you get caught there, you're not reaching that said goal, or it's just going to take you longer. And how much opportunity we miss in not taking that action.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you use slides with friends today?
Oh gosh, all different kinds of ways, honestly. So we use it for onboarding. We use it for training and demoing for, so I'm a member of a lot of communities, which I highly recommend if you're looking to strike out on your own. Join some founder communities, some women communities, if you're a woman, some people of color communities. Find niches, find people who are familiar with what you're going through, and join those communities. So I
And to
end up.
your point, I wish there were women was a community 30 years ago for women in printing.
Oh, really? Yeah, like there's so many things like 10 years ago I was like, this would have been great.
Right?
Yes.
And you know what? No, if you don't see a community, start it.
Yeah, because if
Because
you are a member of it, there are others.
There are others.
There might not be a ton of them, but there will be some.
They will come.
And the globe is small. You can all meet online. So I joined a lot of communities, and we ended up creating like onboarding decks for their community members. So people use it a lot for community management, like of these online communities, which I find great. I just used Slides with last weekend. I threw my best friend a bridal shower, and we had everyone crowd into the living room, and we did a trivia game about her and her fiance, and whoever won got like a bottle of rosé. It was very, very frou-frou, and we had a wonderful time. And there was an age range there, and it was wonderful because the young kids, they got it, like, the 30-year-olds got it right away, and the grandmas were just absolutely blown away that this is something that you can do now. They were like, and they figured it out too. It's because it's not complicated, just press a button on your phone. And they were kind of in awe of the fact that you could build something like this.
You could play it in real time.
Yeah, like it's just something that they weren't used to having. So it was wonderful to see kind of that spectrum of responses. So I ended up using it regularly for myself, which is, I think, the mark of a good platform.
So how could our viewers and listeners today continue to learn more about you, reach out, connect?
Yeah.
Learn more about Slides with Friends.
Slideswithfriends.com or slideswith.com. You can find me on Twitter. I'm C Razak, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And we have a little chat bot on our website. If you put my name in there, maybe I'll see that.
And where do you see yourself and your team going next? Because you're an innovator and a doer.
Yeah. So we are kind of on a trajectory right now where we are making some shifts in the product to take it from something that is a toy in some ways to more of a tool in other ways. So right now we have a lot of icebreaker games, a lot of team building games and activities, and we also can do a lot of other more hard science kind of things, like interactive meetings, project kickoffs, that sort of stuff. Nice. So we are transferring and adding functionality and adding the ability for people to use us. For instance, we have now some fun data export and like event ratings, so that basically you have something to show your board from your classroom lesson, or you have something to show your boss that says like, hey, I ran this team building exercise. Here's how everybody rated it 5 stars. Here's what it looked like. Here's the word cloud that we created, and here's a CSV export of everybody understanding the material, like that sort of thing.
Well, Cecilia, you are a woman to follow, and I truly, truly love what you say, truly in your personal brand identity of, I like building tech companies that help humans, because technology is a tool for us.
Yeah, and it can serve us if we shouldn't serve it.
Yeah, and I've so enjoyed talking to you. I learned so much every time we connect. So thank you for joining me here today. And viewers, continue to follow this stream, watch this video, share it forward, and ask questions and comment. We're here for you.
Thank you so much, Ivy. This was wonderful. And thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me. Yeah. And stay tuned for more LinkedIn Lives, Facebook Lives coming your way with great interviews. They're fun, they're engaging, they're a chance for all of us to continue to learn. Stay tuned as we post what the next one's going to be. See you next time.